Kevin Ellison, here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the country. Catholic leaders are speaking out after President Donald Trump signed an executive memorandum called the Protection of the Nation from Foreign Terrorist Entry into the United States. The executive order suspends the entire U.S. refugee resettlement program for 120 days, bans entry from all citizens of 7 majority Muslim countries, including Syria, Iraq, and Iran, for 90 days, and it also establishes a religious criteria for refugees, proposing to give priority to religious minorities over others who may have equally compelling refugee claims. Cardinal Blaise Cupich of Chicago said in a statement that the executive order to turn away refugees and to close our nation to those, particularly Muslims, fleeing violence, oppression, and persecution is contrary to both Catholic and American values. Bishop Joe Vasquez of Austin, Texas, chairman of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops Committee on Migration, said the bishops strongly disagree with the action to halt refugee resettlement. The bishop said now more than ever welcoming newcomers and refugees is an act of love and hope. He said the USCCB runs the largest refugee resettlement program in the United States and reiterated the bishop's commitment to protect the most vulnerable regardless of religion. In news from Rome, new U.S. Cardinals Joseph Tobin of Newark and Kevin Farrell, prefect of the Dicastery for Laity, Family, and Life, celebrated masses over the weekend at their titular churches in Rome. Catholic News Service has more on these special celebrations.
Cardinal Joseph Tobin of Newark and Cardinal Kevin Farrell, prefect of the Dicastery for Laity, Family, and Life, celebrated masses at their titular churches in Rome Sunday, January 29th. At the Church of St. Julian the Martyr, Cardinal Farrell told parishioners that the Beatitudes proclaim that it is not possible to reach true happiness if one excludes a relationship with God and with one's neighbors. Across town at the Church of St. Mary of the Graces, Cardinal Tobin said in his homily that in a world that prides itself in having, in dominating others, in being fearful of others, and in making selfish choices, Christians should heed St. Paul's call to boast in the Lord. Each new cardinal is given a title to a church in Rome, making him a special member of the clergy of Rome. The practice echoes the ancient tradition of the Rome clergy electing their bishop, the Pope.
While Cardinal Tobin was at his titular church, the parishioners were asked to pray for Newark Auxiliary Bishop Manuel Cruz, who was assaulted while celebrating Mass January 28th in the Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart. The Cuban-born Bishop Cruz, a Newark Auxiliary since 2008, was celebrating a special Mass for Baseball Hall of Famer Roberto Clemente when he was punched in the mouth. The bishop was taken to a local hospital, received 20 stitches. Police have arrested Charles Miller and charged him with aggravated assault. No motive was given for the attack. The bishop did meet with parishioners a day after the attack and assured them he was fine. In news from the Vatican, Pope Francis touched on a number of topics at his Angelus address over the weekend, including the earthquakes in Italy, World Leprosy Day, and the Gospel readings for Sunday. Rome Reports has more from St. Peter's Square.
Voracious consumerism kills the soul. This was the message of Pope Francis during the Angelus prayer. Pope Francis reflected on the first beatitude, which praises those who live in moderation because they know how to live without being dominated by material goods. He said that these people have a special ability.
Capacità di rinnovare ogni giorno lo stupore per la bontà delle cose, senza appesantirsi nell'opacità della consumazione vorace. Più ho, più voglio, più ho, più voglio. Questa è la consumazione vorace e questo uccide l'anima.
He also remembered those affected by the earthquakes in central Italy. The low temperatures in the mountains are forcing them to spend the night in shelters.
Non manchi a questi nostri fratelli e sorelle il costante sostegno delle istituzioni e la comune solidarietà. E per favore, che qualsiasi tipo di burocrazia non li faccia aspettare e ulteriormente soffrire.
The Pope also recalled the World Day for Leprosy Sufferers, a disease, he noted, affecting the poorest. It's not a disease of the past. Since the late 1990s, more than 16 million people received treatment. In 2015, 215,000 new cases were detected. Next to Pope Francis were two children from Italy's Catholic Action Movement. They participated in an act for peace that culminated at the Vatican with the launching of all these balloons.
Finally, in the news, according to the Vatican Central Statistics Office, from the end of 2004 to the end of 2014, the number of religious order priests in the world declined by more than 2,500 to just under 135,000. The number of religious brothers dropped by 471 to just over 54,500, and the number of women religious fell by almost 85,000 to about 683,000 religious. Pope Francis addressed some of the issues of declining numbers when he met with members of the Congregation for Institutes of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life and representatives of religious orders. The Pope told those gathered that there is no lack of young people for religious callings, but the young, he said, also include many victims of the logic of worldliness, those searching for success at any cost, for easy money and easy pleasure. The response of the Church, the Pope said, must be to reach out and to infect them with the joy of the gospel and of belonging to Christ. The Pope also talked about the importance of community life of religious orders. He said it must be nourished with community prayer, Mass, the sacrament of reconciliation, dialogue among members, fraternal correction, and shared responsibility. Well, that's all the information we have for you at this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.